You call this a seed haul? I've got your seed haul right here. Keep watching to explore our epic 2022 seed vault. Hey guys, Jake here with the Roaming Homesteaders. If you're like me, obsessed with gardening and two green thumbs, then you've got a problem worse than gambling or video games. That's right, I'm talking about seeds. They call seeds the gateway addiction to homesteading, but the truth is, we're not just squirreling away seeds because we're mad about purchasing, although it's certainly fun to go through the catalogs every winter and figure out what we're going to do in the gardens. The truth is, this year we're worried about having enough supply for what we need and also for our family. So this year especially, we were on a quest to get a hold of as many seeds as we could within a reasonable budget and to find out what we could grow well in our area and, prospectively, to grow in the places that we hope to live one day. One of the big challenges that everyone is facing right now is the rumored shortages for seeds, and I can tell you, in all honesty, we've noticed a difference this year that we haven't seen in other years. People are selling out a lot quicker. People are running out of popular varieties much more quickly, and the prices are just starting to go through the roof. And what's really been killing everybody, I think, is shipping. So we haven't been squirreling seeds for the last decade. Most of the purchases that we've made have been in the last year or two because we saw this coming, but we've also been practicing in our yard. But what I want to do is go through a few of things that we've been doing, the things that we've been purchasing, and I've been able to organize most of that into categories of seeds, and I just want to talk about some of the thinking that went behind it and what we hope to do with it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So one of the things that I talked about was categories of seeds, and the way that I've organized a lot of our seeds has been into categories. For instance, I have cucumbers and okra here. And in this one I have beans and peas. And here we have eggplants and peppers. And we have our entire greens bag right here. And a good helping of tomatoes and tomatillos and gooseberries. And of course our cruciferous vegetables here. And a whole bunch of flowers. This is our onions and garlic bag. And we have melons, especially watermelons, but melons of various types. I am just absolutely obsessed with corn. You can ask my wife, there's this, don't get me started, but the whole genetically modified corn business and what's been going on, for the last 20 years all over the world has really got me looking back at heirloom corn varieties. So I'm a particular collector of corn varieties, and we'll go ahead and go into some of those as well. Here's our squash bag. This is our purchased squash bag, and then we have multiple other squash bags from seeds that we've actually saved and collected, and I'll talk about a few of those as well. And of course, root vegetables. So I'm just going to work my way across the table, and we'll throw them in the bucket here when we're done. But the first thing I want to talk about was staples. A lot of people don't understand just how much food people eat in a year. And when you're talking about staples, things like wheat, corn, rice, potatoes, those things actually form the starchy bulk of our diets. A lot of people eat a lot of bread every year. I think the average recommendation or the average consumption in the United States right now for wheat is something like 2,000 pounds a person. It's a lot. I'd have to look at it. I'd have to look at the statistics again. But when you talk about growing and storing that much food, especially particularly staples like wheat or corn or rice, it's very difficult to grow that much food. So if you're going to do it on any scale, you're going to have to get a hold of seed in order to do that. And I can tell you, just starting with wheat, for instance, the last several years we've grown 2 crops of wheat here just in our backyard, about 2,000 square foot of garden. And what I'll do in the fall is I will clean up all the debris from the gardening season, maybe October, November. I'll take it down to the ground, I'll rototill it in, we'll set the beds at maybe 18-inch rows or maybe 12-inch rows, and then I'll dig a furrow in and we will plant winter wheat. This type is called red fife, fife like the flute from the 1700s. So red fife was a variety, I think, from Canada. Again, we got our initial seed from Anarchy Acres, and this is a part of our harvest. We basically doubled our crop the second year. We got about 10 or 15 pounds out of that little garden space. And you can see this is much cleaner. It's a smaller, more compact wheat berry, and this looks a lot more like what you would get from something like Wheat Montana or something. But it comes in a bag. Comes in a bag like this. This is Anarchy Acres. This is the sort of bag it comes in. This is a 2-pound bag of turkey red that we stuffed back in the bag. And then, this was part of our red fife seed. So you can see, we put maybe a pound in and we got about 15 pounds back. So, that was a pretty good return. If you're gonna grow wheat, there's lots of great stuff. One book that I would recommend is called Homegrown Whole Grains, How to Grow Whole Grains in Your Backyard. Really great book, I highly recommend it. But if you're gonna be doing this homesteading thing on any scale, it would be smart of you to try to learn how to grow wheat especially. And you can grow things that have a good gluten profile, things that you're not as allergic to as some of these commercial genetically modified things that are out there. You go back 100, 200 years to some of these heirloom varieties, and you can have a grain that's not only healthy with a high protein, but it's not going to be something that you're really allergic to because it hasn't been tweaked or messed with. On that note, in that same vein, corn is another crop that they've really heavily tweaked and messed with. And in my opinion, they've screwed it up and they've really endangered our food security. And it's to the point where Mexico, which is a society that's really heavily identified with corn and maize, that's obviously sort of the home base where all this emerged thousands of years ago from just agriculture with the Aztecs and the Mayans and all the people in Central America and further south. They developed these varieties of corn that were considered sacred, and with genetic modification these days, Mexicans especially have become so concerned about big agriculture sort of destroying their diversity and their heritage in their agriculture, that they've actually started to ban the not just the production, but even growing any of these sort of genetically modified things in Mexico. You can read some of the stories that are in the news lately. So, my goal in all this is to try to preserve some of the genetic diversity that I have access to. And one of the ways has been trying to obtain good types of corn that are considered heirloom. And one of the best places that I found to get a hold of some of these is one of them's Riley's Farm and Field, just a small operation, I think, out of Alabama. And he'll ship you bags. It's sort of a little secret on where to get these sort of varieties, like Jimmy Red or some of these other corns. But Southern Exposure Seed Exchange is one of the other places that I found that you can get good quantities of these heirloom corns for an affordable price. And this is the sort of thing that you would grow a corn lot in your front yard. I'm talking like a half an acre or more. You can get the seed at a reasonable price, and it's good heirloom seed that grows well. This particular one is Tennessee Red Cob. That's a pretty cool variety. Something that I'm actually growing in my backyard right now that I've gotten started is Floriani Red Flint Corn. That's another great variety for polenta. And I just have an entire collection in here. There's a few that I would highlight. Terroir Seeds, I got some Hopi Blue Corn from them. This was a sale from Johnny's. I got some double standard open pollinated there. M.I. Gardner has a pretty decent count. I grew Oaxacan green dent corn several years ago. Silver Queen, this is sort of one of the newer type hybrids, but still been around for a long time. Silver Queen, I think I got this from Harris Seeds. And of course, Baker Creek. We have glass gem here. We're going to try growing some of that soon, mainly for the variety and just kind of saving the seeds and maybe selling them. Just sort of as a little income side thing. I know those are pretty popular. This is a ornamental early pink popcorn from Harris Seeds. Here's another one from Harris Seeds. You know, I like Harris Seeds, but I'm a little picky with them because they treat a lot of their seeds, and some of it is, well, a lot of their stuff is treated, so I tend to purchase things that are not treated. Like this is Earth Tones Dent corn. That's a cool type of heirloom corn. Stowell's Evergreen. You know, I grew some of this. I think I got this. This is American Seed. I think I got this at Walmart on sale for 25 cents a bag. You know, so for a couple of bucks for enough corn to plant, you know, can't beat that. The varieties that I'm really looking forward to right now are Ohio Blue Claridge. I've grown that in the past. Claridge, C-L-A-R-A-G-E. Another one is Jimmy Red. That's very popular with distillers right now. It used to be very popular with moonshiners back in the day because of the high sugar content. Hopi Blue Corn. Anyway, I could go on and on about corn, but suffice it to say, you know, I have about 25 different varieties of heirloom corn, far beyond what I have here in the bags. Believe it or not, this tub that I'm showing you is only one of about 5 that I have full, and a lot of those are from prior crops that I've vacuum bagged. All right, so moving on. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to, if we get some land, is to plant some flowers, especially perennial flowers. And some of the things that I've run into, you know, here's some American Seed packs. I just went gaga with the American Seed packs this year because they were dirt cheap, and I was the first one to see them at the Dollar Tree, so I sort of wiped out half the racks. But we'll go ahead and get those out of the way, and then I'll talk to you about some of these others we found. So really what I'd like to do is start getting into some of these perennial flowers. And most of the flowers that I'm hoping to grow and that I purchased seeds for are edible. And if they're not edible, they're not poisonous. I have 5 children running around, so I want to make sure that they get the idea that picking flowers and eating things is good, and then they eat the wrong thing and they get sick. I don't want to have that going on. So I've tried to be a little careful in what I've picked. You know, we purchased a bunch of Haas seeds this year. This was off of a recommendation for flowers, the Roselle hibiscus. I'm excited to grow this one. Again, edible type flowers. We have Queen Sophia marigolds, borage especially. I used to grow borage a lot. Some maiden pinks. We were able to get a bunch of Fairy Morse seeds on sale this year. Passion flowers. So, you know, passion flowers, passion fruit, really big in places like East Tennessee, Western North Carolina. You find them growing wild in some of those places, but I'm excited for those. And we actually have marigolds coming out of our ears. As a matter of fact, this was a cool pack. I actually haven't opened this one, but Sweet Yards, they sell just a huge bag. I mean, this is like 1 billion seeds. I don't know how many's in this, but huge bag of these Cracker Jack African marigolds. I want to use these extensively for pest control and sort of planting around the edge of everything. I'm actually intercropping these this year with my tomatoes, so we'll see how those work. Nasturtiums. I love nasturtiums. I've grown them for many years. My wife thinks they're entirely too spicy, but I just think they're beautiful, and they're really easy to save seeds on. They, you know, once the flowers kind of fall off, you just have a seed on a little tendril, and you wait till it turns dry and pluck it off, and you got a new plant. Of course, sunflowers. I planted a bunch of sunflowers this year. None of them took except for 3. So I think it was just a little too cold. At the risk of becoming less focused and just rambling on, there's really too much to go through here. You know, this is the nature of when you have these sort of things. You could do entire videos on just a specific company, but I just want to communicate this really. In purchasing all of these seeds, the goal wasn't just to go for quantity instead of quality. I did purchase things in quantity because they were super cheap. For instance, these American Seed Company seeds. And I know people are down on some of these super cheap seed companies. You know, they have differing opinions on how well they work. I can tell you this, I've planted several varieties of American seeds for vegetables and other things, and you know what, they all grow pretty well, and most of them are heirlooms. So, you know, I don't mind buying a cheap little pack of seeds that might have a few less than some other companies, just because I can get them in quantity. But, you know, some of these other things that we purchased have been specifically targeted at, you know, bringing in pollinators to the garden or having some sort of medicinal use. A lot of the things that we've purchased have been targeted for specific value, specific use. They're either edible, they bring in pollinators, or they are useful for, you know, not just beautifying the garden. I tried to stay away from things that were super poisonous or could harm you specifically, but most of what we gathered in here has been targeted for a specific use. They're either edible, they keep away pests, they're good for an herbal remedy or household remedy, or they can be used in directly as food. So here's an interesting one that I got recently. I don't know if a lot of people think of this, but Kitazawa seeds, and I think they are also True Leaf. I think they have two brands, True Leaf Market and then Kitazawa Seeds. I think they're the same company. But two things that I got this year were sesame seeds. Sesame seeds are an interesting plant. I think they grow really well where we are here in 9B right now. But you know, it's a tropical plant grown for its flavorful tan color seeds. I mean, I knew that sesame seeds must come from somewhere, but I didn't know where. And then when I saw sesame seeds on their website, you know, one of these sales, I was like, hey, if I can grow sesame seeds, I'll grow sesame seeds. And of course, you know, they came in the mail at the same time as a Baker Creek haul that I got. I got these. These are, you know, flowers mainly intended for their spice use. I mean, we have some lavender beauty phlox, balsam, safflower that can be used as a replacement for actual saffron. I picked up some dazzling blue kale because everybody's talking about that right now. That looked really cool. And then just for kicks, pink dandelions. We have beautiful dandelions in our yard, lots and lots of yellows. We collect seeds from them, but I wanted something a little bit exotic. This was a company called West Coast Seeds. They're up in Canada. I think they're British Columbia. I didn't realize when I ordered at the time they were coming from out of the country. That's why I got this little Canada box here. And anyway, West Coast Seeds was having a good sale. And one of the things I found in there were chickpeas. You know, I love hummus. So if you want a hummus garden, you can have your Kitazawa, you know, sesame seeds and your West Coast chickpeas, West Coast seed chickpeas, you know, and you can make your own hummus. Another thing, you know, that I've been really focusing on this year, as I talked about perennial flowers, I want to get the perennial herbs going, you know, so we can have the seasonings and the spices that we would need growing. One of the videos that I really enjoy watching is a homesteading family up it's near Moyes Springs, Bonners Ferry, Idaho, and I just think that what they've done with the herb garden there is great. It's beautiful. We actually drove up there last year, and we drove right by their house. We were wandering through the back woods near Bonners Ferry, just sort of exploring from the Canadian border crossings that were both closed at the time. We went through this back valley, and I knew they were up there, but I was like, hey, that's homesteading family's house. So we took a quick picture out front. We didn't want to seem like stalkers. We took a quick picture out front and kept driving. But I love their videos on their herb garden. I think it's very unique what they've done there. You know, just turning a little patch out front of their cabin into a really nice sort of medicinal and culinary herb garden. And what I'm hoping to do is something similar. So, you know, some of the great hauls that we've gotten this year so far, I mean, obviously we've picked up a few things as we were able, just at Lowe's. Oh, look, you know, fairy morse, they're on sale for $1 or whatever. You can get some chives and some other things. And you can even purchase these seeds of change. I like seeds of change. They always grow well for me. And I won't say the selection's great, but like 100% germination on everything all the time, probably because of these foil packs. And if you can get them for a good price, you know, why not? Yeah, so that was most of this. We got a few, you know, we got a few of these American seeds in various types, sage and whatnot. But some of the things that I'm really interested in are the more exotic things. This was Victoria rhubarb. This is one of the things that disappeared. Like, I can't get this anywhere right now. Maybe some of them are back in stock, but it's hard to find rhubarb in seed form right now. Cumin, obviously people use a lot of cumin. Cranberry hibiscus. I really like the edible hibiscus herbal flowers and things. Believe it or not, we have purslane going wild in our yard. It is a weed. All you have to do is water the ground and purslane comes up in huge chunks. I've torn it out in the past. I know what it is. It's sort of bitter, but I understand it's like a superfood. So this year I've actually watered some holes in the plastic ground cover, the weed cloth that we put down, and I just when the purslane comes up, I water that and I weed everything else. So I'm trying to see how big I can get the purslane this year, and maybe we can start eating some of that. But I got golden purslane here. It's supposed to be a little more tender and edible. And then something else is Hungarian poppies, poppy seeds. Obviously, you want to be careful the type of poppies you get. Bread seed poppies and some of these seed poppies are good for food as well. I mean, cilantro, thyme, tarragon, rosemary, peppermint, thyme. I mean, chives, garlic chives, chamomile. I'm looking forward to that. I drink a lot of chamomile tea. Lemon balm, marjoram, thyme. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Oh, yes, these are the specialty seeds. You almost forget what you have when you buy these many, I'm ashamed to say. Mexican mint marigold from M.I. Gardner. I'm looking forward to growing that. That looks really cool. Munstead lavender, again from M.I. Gardner. Really looking forward to that. These were on a good sale. And then So True Seeds. I was able to get a bunch of unique seeds from So True Seeds. I heard great things from that company. I haven't grown anything yet from them. But we have lemon balm, hyssop, black mustard, and anise. You know, so those are some of the herbs that we're looking forward to growing. Another thing that we're fond of growing, and we try to grow them every year, which is probably why we have so many seeds. I mean, this is our miscellaneous pumpkin bag, but we grow a lot of squashes. And some of the things that we've been collecting are more of the specialty seeds. So you're going to see a lot more of the specialty seeds here in this particular batch, in this pile. Sort of starting out, we've got some Seeds of Change Howden pumpkins. You know, we have blue Haradale pumpkins. This is that blue Australian variety. We've got porcelain dolls from Haas. And I picked up some specialty pumpkins and squashes from Baker Creek this year. This is Gedia Kosamine. This is a North Georgia Candy Roaster. So this is the pack that we bought off of Baker Creek 3 years ago. And I grew like 5 or 6 plants, and that's what I got all of these from. So very prolific variety. I highly recommend it. We've made so much soup, breads, I mean, anything you can put pumpkins into. North Georgia Candy Roasters are really great, and they're really good at producing seeds. I mean, I just love the seeds from these things. They're unique. Every squash is unique. Some acorn squashes, mini harvest blends, regular pumpkins, celebration squash. I mean, we've got victory seeds, we've got Haas seeds, we've got fairy morse. We got everything you can shake a stick at here. Another thing that I really love that we collect a lot of and we grow a lot of is peppers. You can get the peppers from places like Baker Creek, and there's some great varieties here. But I want to tell you, I'm from Tucson, Arizona. So one of the things that we used to do all the time is we go over to Hatch, New Mexico, and we get the big chili packs. And what you see a lot of is these chili ristras. And chili ristras are sort of a Hispanic tradition, at least in this Sonoran Desert and Sonora, Mexico.
but especially in Tucson, Arizona, and New Mexico, and they would make these chili columns. They'd have some corn husks at the top, and then they'd tie up chilies in a big column. You know, I've seen them 6 or 8 feet long, you know, really tall things, but most of them are about 2 to 3 feet long, and you hang them by your front door or, you know, around the front of your house around Christmas time. And I remember we used to go all the time to the grocery stores in Tucson around Christmas, and there'd be a Hispanic woman out there with a big grocery cart full of tamales. And they would have made, you know, tamales, and they might be selling chili risters as well, but that was a big tradition for us to do. But so, you know, my point is, you know, you can grow peppers, you know, from the packs and get, you know, 25 seeds or something, or you can get them straight from the growers. And I think I got this from chiliseedsusa.com, and you can get the varieties and the quantities that you would need straight from the growers, and you pay on like PayPal, and they'll ship them right out to you, and you can get 10,000 seeds for $5. So I'm not saying that you know, it's not a good deal to get things from Southern Exposure or MI Gardener or Baker Creek or any of these other places, but if you like peppers, I mean, if you really like peppers and you're addicted to peppers like me, you can get the real thing straight from the source, you know. I really enjoy these Big Jim Legacy peppers, and then these NMX 64s. These are industry standard chili peppers that are grown just for those roasted chili peppers, and you know, just some great stuff. We got a good batch of peppers from American Seeds. These go pretty well. You know, I'm not really into the super hot, you know, Carolina Reapers, habaneros, etc., but I was able to snag, you know, for 25 cents. I figured if I'm ever going to be growing any of these, you know, for plants to sell to people, I know people like habaneros, so. But, of course, we had the Paseo Bajío, or Paseo Bajío peppers from MI Gardener. Excited about growing those. So I just try to get a good variety of peppers. Here's Ajvarsky and Poblanos. We have a few Lesias in the garden this year. We're going to be growing those. Those are about ready to put in the ground. Some more good variety from MI Gardener. Paprika, you know, another thing you want to think about when you're growing things is what you're going to use for spices. And peppers are a big source of spices. You dry them up, you ground them into a powder. And this paprika pepper, I'm excited to grow. This is a good heirloom variety. I know that tomatoes are the star of every show, so I'm going to take a little bit of time here to go through our specific varieties of tomatoes, but I want to talk to you about, you know, what we're looking for and what we want to do with them. And just real quick, a lot of my tomato varieties come from Baker Creek. We also get a bunch from Wild Boar Farms. There's some, you know, if you're familiar with those two sources, Wild Boar, you know, is a specific breeder of new tomato varieties, and then of course you get a lot of the good heirloom varieties. So Green Giant is an exciting one that I'm looking forward to growing. I spent a little bit of money on these, getting all these varieties, especially from Baker Creek, because I want to start building my own collections of seeds. So I don't mind paying, you know, $4 for a pack of, you know, 15 seeds if I can turn around and grow my own and then save thousands of seeds. But you know, so Green Giant looks like a good variety. This was a free seed, Thornburns Terracotta. I'm always excited when I get a hold of free seeds that end up being tomatoes. It was like, woohoo, free tomato. Jersey Devil looked great. That looks like a nice meaty tomato. We're looking forward to growing good paste tomato. Azoichka, this is from MI Gardener. I'm looking forward to growing that one. Black Beauty looks cool just because it's got the anthocyanins and you know, good dark color. Super Sue from Seeds of Change. And then of course we have Purple Coben, another Baker Creek. I've heard a lot of talk about ground cherries, so I researched a good variety and went ahead and snagged one of those. I'm looking forward to trying those. I've never had those, so. Bonnie's Best, we have these planted in the garden this year. Pineapple, another one we're having growing in the garden. Golden King of Siberia, another one. This had a good number of seeds in it. Black Strawberry, I think I planted no, there's a few seeds left in here. Black Strawberry, cherry tomatoes, Mountain Valley Seed Co. Cape Gooseberry Tomatillos. Here's some Sunrise Bumblebees. Amish Paste. Let's see, what do we got? Cherokee Purple and Orange Icicle. I tried growing Orange Icicle last year. They didn't do too well, but I like that idea of that one. And of course, Cherokee Purple. Good old Cherokee Purple. San Marzano. We got Kellogg's Breakfast. More pineapple. I wanted some backups. Sorry, I'm shaking these packs as I get them. It's probably not good for the camera, but I wanted to just see what's in there. And then Purple Tomatillos. These are some ones that I've grown in the past. Black Crim. Southern Exposure had some good varieties. Cossack Pineapple. Ground cherries. And then, most of these are just, this is from Ohio Heirloom Seed Company's selections this year. I got a bunch here. They're kind of nondescript envelopes, but some of the varieties we have here: Abe Lincoln, Great White, Azoichka, Dr. Weike's, Arkansas Traveler, more pineapple, Lillian's Yellow Heirloom from Victory Seeds, Ferris Wheel, and Livingston Gold. And then lastly, if you purchase from Wild Boar Farms, you'll get an envelope like this, and it's not fancy packaging, but they'll all just be taped. Your order will just be taped here to the paper with the label. So, Atomic Fusion, Brad's Atomic Green, a few of those. So that's what that looks like if you order from Wild Boar Farms. Don't expect fancy packaging, but these are some of the best tomatoes you can get a hold of, at least for new varieties and new breeds. I'll just zoom through our cruciferous vegetables. These are mostly sort of winter or early spring or fall types of things, depending on where you're growing them. But Vermont Beet and Seed Company had a good selection this year. We got some broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower varieties. You can't go wrong with most of the varieties they have. We wanted to load up on Brussels sprouts this year. Obviously, that's a Baker Creek selection. Mountain Valley Seeds. I think this was True Seeds. True Garden. Anyway, great little pack. They have a lot of seeds in these. I highly recommend them. We have Red Acre Cabbage, Golden Acre Cabbage. What do we got here? Broccoli, Waltham 29 broccoli, and then self-blanching cauliflower. And then Haas, we had a good selection from Haas this year. Again, we got a lot of our winter vegetables from Haas. We've got our twister cauliflower, flash collards, bobcat cabbage, those look pretty cool. China star cabbage, those are Chinese cabbages. And then Joy Choy. And then imperial broccoli. And then of course, Fairy Morse. And then something else, this is a great company, Uprising Seeds. I've grown a lot of things for them, mainly beans, but this is January King cabbage. I'm really excited to grow this one. This one looks really cool. I've heard amazing things about it. And this pack is almost entirely full. I mean, this would give me hundreds of cabbages if I wanted just from this pack. But check it out. Uprising Seeds, great company. Obviously, there's so much more that I could go through here, and I don't want to ignore anything important, but I just want to kind of highlight a couple of things. We have cucumbers and okra here. There's some okra seed that I saved in the past. Believe it or not, American Seed Company is a great source for cucumbers. You can get lots of different varieties, super cheap. There's a Market More. Actually, no, that's National Pickling. National Pickling, Straight Eights, Market Mores. If you just want to test out different heirloom varieties and you want to get some cheap, American Seed's a good source. Otherwise, okra, Clemson spineless, that's the industry standard, so you don't get your fingers all burned up from messing with your okra in the summer. Seeds of Change, Market More, grew very well for me a couple of years ago. And then I got Marketer from Victory Seeds, and then Marketmore 76, obviously, and then more okra. So onions and garlic. I'm just starting to get into onions and garlic. I've never grown any myself. I've seen them grown. I have friends that have grown them, but I know the distinction between short day, long day, where you're growing, etc. I got a great mix this year. You know, I won't go into all of these, but Vermont Bean and Seed Company had a good mix of long day. I'm excited to grow red burgundy. I love red onions. Here's some sweet onions. We've got Utah yellow Spanish. So I got a mix of intermediates. A lot of reds, a lot of sweets. Texas Early Verano. Just make sure when you're getting an onion. Oh, M.I. Gardner. Shout out to M.I. Gardner. Great onion selection this year. I definitely loaded up. The important thing about onions is figure out what's going to work well for you. If you do not get a variety that is attuned to your daylight hours, that's what the long day and short day onions are, they will not bulb. So keep that in mind when you're looking at onions. Make sure that you get varieties that are specific to your growing area so that you're not disappointed in just dealing with a lot of foliage and not enough onions. Greens, again, without going into everything here. So True Seeds, great source for greens. Vermont Bean and Seed Company, Standard Old Fairy Morse. You know, we've got the spinach and the chard. Something I'm excited to try this year in our hot climate is red Malabar spinach. I've heard great things from, I think, Celebrating Appalachia, Tipper with Celebrating Appalachia. Highly recommended these growing in her area, and she actually grows in a cooler area up in the mountains. But I hear these do really well down in the hot valley, so I'm going to try that this year. Let's see, Benny Hoshi, Benny Haushi Mizuna. Here's mixed greens. If you're looking for greens, you can get these microgreens mixes, and you just look at the back, and this tells you microgreen blend contains broccoli, Mizuna, red Russian kale, purple Vienna kohlrabi, and they're usually cheap because they're just intended. But if you can recognize the seedlings when they sprout, you can just plant these out and you'll get whatever you have. Oh, I want a bunch of red Russian kale. It's actually cheaper to buy this mix than to go buy a single pack of the kale. So you can get some cheaper seeds that way. A lot of my free seeds from Baker Creek this year were greens. Mountain Valley, I don't even know what I got here. Let's see. Winter Giant Spinach, Arugula, Swiss Chard. I got lots of Swiss Chard. Half of this bag is various varieties of spinach and other things. A lot of kale. These are pretty cool. Value vegetable packs. Yeah, there's just a lot of neat things out there. Keep your eyes out for good things. And again, realize if you're looking for bulk foods that you're going to eat on a regular basis, you're going to be talking about greens and grains and other such things. So keep those in mind. Okay, the next bag is roots. So I told you Uprising Seeds gives you a lot of seeds. And what I really appreciated this year, I loaded up on Crapaudine red beets. These are big beets. I'm excited to try growing these for bulk vegetables, store vegetables, canning vegetables. We have a lot of, we got some rutabagas here. And of course carrots. I get carrot seeds coming out of my ears, radishes, rutabagas, all different sorts of things. Carrots, you know, there's a debate on what's the best. It depends on your soil and how well you take care of it. Just some cool stuff. Got these Kyoto Reds from Baker Creek this year. Excited to try those. Got some watermelon radishes from Haas. A couple varieties of carrots from True Market Garden, I think. And then Fairy Morse is a great source for these. You know, these Ruby Queens that I've grown for a couple of years have always really delivered for me. Lots of different types of things. Pusa Asita black carrots from Baker Creek. And Black Nebula carrots. And then a whole bunch of these American Seed Company. And then Merlin beets from Haas. So that's sort of that pile. The last thing that I'd like to go over just really quickly is beans. Beans are another sort of staple, especially for proteins. They're a good nitrogen fixer for your garden, but getting something that grows well in your area and can grow a lot of something quickly during the bean growing season is going to be really important for sort of protein purposes and whatnot. So I have beans and peas here. I highly recommend Uprising Seeds for their varieties and their bulk. You know, you can get a really good number. This is a half a pound. I want to say this was $5 or $6, $6 or $7. And you can get just great varieties. This one's Jacob's Cattle Beans. I liked it because of the name. Pellegrini is a famous one from, I think, Seattle. It's a little gray-green bean. Pole beans. I tend to get mainly pole beans. There's some bush beans I have in here. I think I have some red beans here. Let's see, more cowpeas. Lincoln peas, I have a hard time where we're at right now because it gets so hot so quickly, but if you can grow peas in the spring and you have a good season for them, you know, Lincoln peas grow well. I got a couple burpees on sale last year. They're in the plastics, so I figured it'd be a good purchase. They were like in the bargain bin at Walmart. But the ones that I was really excited about were these Vermont bean and seed companies. Obviously, it's in the name, bean and seed, so they kind of specialize that. You get a good amount for what you pay. Uprising Seeds, Marvel of Venice, the Annie Jackson variety, and then some more Lincoln. So I know that was a mad dash through, you know, hundreds of packets of seed at once, and we couldn't go very deep into it, but I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. As we are looking to purchase land, and we're probably going to be doing so in the middle of a shortage, you know, we've already noticed significant delay times, and if you can't get them at all, you're really going to be in trouble. So I'm not trying to panic anyone, but you know, we have noticed that in ordering from all the companies that we ordered from this year and last year, we've noticed that delay, shortages, being sold out on things. We've had a list of things that we had to pick up as we could find them. And, you know, it's just something to think about. You know, we're firm believers in God's provision and that, you know, He's not going to let us go hungry. But when you're talking about being smart and planning ahead, it's wise to think about some of these things. You know, right now we are not growing most of what we eat, and so we still have access to grocery stores, and you know, most of what we're consuming is not from our own efforts. We'd like to shift away from being so dependent upon grocery stores, which, as we've all seen during the pandemic and other times in recent years, you know, the supply can come and go. Things can get expensive when they shouldn't. Right now there's a baby formula shortage. That's just one example. People are scrambling because there's nothing left. And again, I'm not trying to panic people. I'm not trying to say that, you know, you can't rely on God or you know, wise planning for things, but we're given a brain for a reason. And if we can see the signs around us where, oh, that thing out there, for instance, I went down to get some fertilizer from the Simplot store about an hour and a half south of here, and they gave me 50 pounds of fertilizer in a bucket for free. And I said, wow, you know, thank you so much. I'm surprised. And they said, it's just sitting here. Nobody's buying. You know, we have these, you know, piles of it here. There's shortages of fertilizer in other places, but in our particular area in the California Central Valley, it's just sitting there and nobody's using it because the water has been shut off for the summer. We're not going to get any more water because of the drought here in California. So, you know, hundreds of thousands of acres are being laid fallow. They're not going to be growing rice this year. They're not growing a lot of vegetables. They can't grow corn. You know, the big water-intensive crops aren't being grown this year. And, you know, that's hit the news since then, but nobody's registered that if California, which supplies, you know, something like 60% of the nation's rice, isn't going to be growing rice this year, you can guarantee that the price of rice is going to go up, and you might even have shortages of rice. And if you watch the news and you see things like wheat crops in the Midwest are being hammered by, intermittent rains, and, half of the wheat crop may be ruined this year in the Midwest, well, then you can probably bet that wheat is going to get scarce, and the price of wheat and bread and anything made from wheat, which is most things these days, is going to go through the roof. And so my point in all this is, if you're paying attention, you're going to see these things are going to be scarce or they're going to be expensive. And part of what has driven our desire to stock up on these things isn't because we particularly relish planting all of our food out. It's that we know we might be facing a shortage. We know that we can grow these things ourselves, and we know how to do it, and we may be forced to do it in a larger scale than we had anticipated. But it's to say, everybody can be doing this and should be doing this. And being forewarned, especially of a homesteader mind, as we're telling people, homestead where you are, I don't want to say make do with what you have, but take advantage of where you are and what you have and do what you can, because it's going to be more and more important to be more self-sufficient, especially with seeds. So you can have fun, flipping through your seed catalogs. I mean, I sure did. I marked up Baker Creek this year and what I wanted to do, and dreamed about what I wanted to do and thought about all the cool pictures, and it's just beautiful. And I spent my share of money at Baker Creek this year, but also start thinking about some of the other catalogs, Johnny's, where can you get Territorial? Where can you get more bulk seeds, things that you would need quantity for? Okay, $4 for a pack of tomato seeds from Baker Creek, that's great, especially specialty items. But what if you just need basic tomatoes that are going to grow a lot of because you're going to be sharing it with 10 people? Where can you get those plants? How do you grow enough plants to supply that need? And then how do you save seeds from all that? So starting to think about that, I think, is very important. And I just encourage people, as they look through at what we've done, part of what we've done here, it might seem a little crazy, like, why did they get all that stuff? Why did they need all that stuff? I don't know that we do. We might, and the chances increase daily that we might really need them. And if it comes down to fresh fruits and vegetables versus eating stale cereal or whatever people can get in a can at the grocery store because there's literally nothing on the shelves, I'd rather be in a position that we have what we need and we can share with others who need and have an opportunity to bless others with, because we, we're like the little red hen in a way, and did what we could when we could. So I encourage everybody to think that way. I hope this has been a good opportunity to look through kind of what you can do and how you can gather these seeds. We did not spend thousands of dollars on these seeds. You can shop the sales. You can look at places like the Dollar Tree, and after a certain point at Walmart or Lowe's, they just have a fire sale on their seeds and get rid of them. You can stock up in those ways. There's seed swaps online. There's free seed swaps online. I'm a member of Facebook pages that have seed swaps, annual seed swaps, and seed sharing. That's a big one. Start looking at the heirloom seed sharing sites. If you grow a bunch of something, you can swap it for other things that you might need. So we might do a video on that in the future. But thanks for watching today. We hope that you've enjoyed it and that it hasn't just been a boring go through of a lot of seeds. But again, I hope you've enjoyed this time, and good luck. And remember, you too can homestead where you are.